All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Academy at Shawnee. I'm excited to be back in the facility and where I started my teaching career back in 1997, right across from the gym where I started coaching basketball in my career, which seems like yesterday, but here we are making this fantastic and incredible announcement today. So I'd like to welcome everyone from Shawnee. And they'll be coming up and having some talk here in a second. I'd like to also welcome our Jefferson County Public Education Foundation, who is a part of this announcement. So Audwin Helton, Kevin Joyner, Mark Shirkness, thank you for joining us today. And then also the students. What's up, students? All of our ambassadors here today, you guys are doing a great job. Thank you for joining us. You all are the ones that will benefit from today's announcement. And I'm happy to be here and tell you this. And so, first and foremost, I want to go back to really May and June, when we passed our student assignment plan. And lots happened since then, but on June 1st of 2022, we passed our board unanimously passed a new student assignment plan. And in that student assignment plan, we created what we call the Choice Zone, where students in this community where we stand right now have the opportunity to, for the first time in nearly 4 decades, to attend a school close to home. And we call that the Choice Zone. But as a part of that plan, we also promised this community that we would fund the schools in an appropriate way so that the families in this community would have equity in selection. They would have a great choice to stay close to home at a school like the Academy at Shawnee, or leave the community if that's what they choose. But for the first time ever, it would be their choice. But we promised this community that we would fund the schools appropriately and equitable to make sure that these were great opportunities for our students here at the Academy at Shawnee and our other 12 Choice Zone schools. And we talked about 2 different types of funding. So I want to make sure, we understand there's 2 different types of funding. I know I'm burying the lead here a little bit, but I do want to make sure we know this. First of all, at the district level, we have found and we have implemented a new process for equitable funding to make sure that every student in JCPS is not, the amount of money funded to a school through the budget is not the same for every student. Those students who need more, that school gets more. And so that comes through the budget process. That comes through where our students for free and reduced lunch, our students who have high mobility rates, our students that are English language learners, our special ed students, they need more supports. So the schools that have more of those students get more budgeted funding. But there's a second kind of funding to schools where nationally we see inequity across the board. And that's what we call supplementary funding. Or a lot of people say it's kind of the hidden dollars that you would not see in a budget. That is funding from PTA, the Parent Teacher Association. That is funding from athletic events and booster clubs and alumni associations, where some of our schools, our high schools, can have as much as $750,000 actually in cash on hand in their activities accounts to support things that promote the school, that bring people to the school, that attract students and families to the school, that provide for supports and enrichment activities all throughout the school. Some of our elementary schools in our wealthier areas in their PTA and activity accounts have as much as $150,000. Meanwhile, at our high poverty schools, a school like the Academy at Shawnee may only have $5,000 to $10,000 in their activity accounts, meaning the cash on hand that actually goes into their bank account to support the students in many different ways. The same with our elementary schools. And that impacts our schools negatively in many ways that you will hear about today. So we promised not only would we use our budgeted money through the JCPS budget to make sure that we had equitable funding, but that we would also go out and raise the funds necessary in order to supplement our schools through this supplementary funding and making sure our students get what they need in every school, so that a student at Ballard High School or a student at the Academy at Shawnee will have equitable experiences, whether they're in the classroom, in the school, on the football field, on a field trip, no matter where that is, we would have equitable funding. But we had to go raise that because it's not budget money, it's actually cash on hand. So I challenged our foundation that we needed to raise $5 million for 3 years worth of funding to our choice zone schools so that we could equitably fund this supplementary funding for our schools. A couple days later, after I asked them of that, we got an incredible announcement, a credible phone call that I will never forget. We are now here to announce today the largest gift, one-time donation that we know of that JCPS has ever received. We are announcing today that Ms. Mackenzie Scott has provided the Jefferson County Public Education Foundation a one-time gift of $20 million that we have now received in our foundation. And so first and foremost, I have to recognize Ms. Scott for what she has done for our students here in JCPS. This is a game changer for our schools in the choice zone and our students in the choice zone. This is funding that you can't go to a high poverty school across America and see something like this. So Ms. Scott has stepped up, first of all, to provide this funding to JCPS and the foundation so that we can support our students. And second of all, she pretty much told us that it's unrestricted. We love what you're doing in JCPS. She had heard about our future state, the way we are changing the foundation of JCPS in many ways, student assignment being one of those, and wanted to make sure that she helped. And so making sure that she also said, you have the plan, JCPS, you are doing the work, you can use this money as you see fit, these funds as you see fit. And so this not only will fund our choice zone schools through this program for 3 years, which we talked about. This will now be over the next decade. We will be able to fund our choice zone schools with this program. And specifically, I want to make sure we know what funding that is. What we are calling it is E3. E3 is around equity, but it's engagement, environment, and experiences for all of our students. So first of all, engagement. You know, this is PTA and PTSA memberships. We want to make sure we use this to support our parent engagement at schools like the Academy at Shawnee, so we can have all of our families, whether they have the funds or not, to be a part of the PTA, to come and have and experience parent nights and things that we can truly engage parents, family nights, community celebrations. An important one is staff appreciations. They're out in other areas where there may not be as high poverty and much more funds in a PTA account. A school can have celebration lunches for their staff. It is so important right now that we celebrate our teachers and make them feel a part of a school community. Schools like Shawnee don't have the funds to do that. We've got to make sure that we are celebrating our teachers and our staff more than ever in a school like Shawnee. Now the Academy at Shawnee will be able to do that. With environment, it will be things like playgrounds. If you look at the difference in playgrounds between a high poverty school and a low poverty school, you can see it. In some of our schools, they could raise the funds in 2 weeks to have a brand new playground. It's orchestra rooms. It is instruments that kids have. They should have the best in a school like Shawnee. It's theater. You know, if they want to put on a play, they should have the best set, the best costumes, the best things that go with that to be successful. It's experiences, whether that's uniforms. You're going to hear about, you know, the football program here at the Academy at Shawnee. They should have the best. The Academy at Shawnee's equipment and all the things that go to support the athletic programs should rival any school in the entire state. Field trips, making sure that the kids at the Academy at Shawnee and our other choice zone schools have the best opportunity to experience learning throughout the community. College visits, I said musical instruments. I could go on and on of the things that this will support. But what we are looking to do with these funds is make sure that the Academy at Shawnee has the exact same opportunity for funding in the supplementary funding that DuPont Manual has. That is what we're focused on right now. Our goal is to make sure that the 11 elementary schools have the same supplementary funding that Norton Commons or Stouffer Elementary or Height Elementary have. That is our goal through this work right now. And as we build a new middle school, it will be the same with that the middle school will have the same opportunity as any other middle school in JCPS. So I'm so excited. I'm thankful for our foundation to step up and support this work. We thought this was going to be a real long journey of raising funds. We are going to go out to the community as and many of our other foundations. This $20 million will fund this initiative, we believe, for up to 10 years, but we want to keep this going for many years after that. This is the way we bridge the achievement gap through funding. This is the equitable funding that we just haven't seen before. And I'm just so excited to see what a school like the Academy at Shawnee is able to do with this. So thank you, Ms. Mackenzie Scott. I can't say enough. It's probably the best phone call I've ever gotten when she called me and said that she didn't call me. Her representative, I should say, called me and said that we were gifted $20 million. I almost fell out of my seat because I know the impact this is going to have on kids in this community and make sure that our Choice Zone students, when they look at, do I want to stay close to home, they know they have the exact same or even better opportunities and access to programming at a school close to home as if they left their community. So this is a real game changer for the Choice Zone and the families in this community, and I'm just excited to be here today. So to tell you a little bit more specifically about what may happen at an individual school, I'd like to bring up the fantastic principal of the Academy at Shawnee. We're down here all the time, I know, but does a wonderful job, Kim Rice.
Thank you, Dr. Polio. I am so excited. I feel like he just opened up the checkbook and just said, here, go for it. So thank you so very much. You heard Dr. Polio talk about opportunity and access and equitable. And those are the things that I want my students at the Academy at Shawnee to have. I want them to be able to say, I want to go to Shawnee because they have this and they have that. And I have to be honest, right now, there are a lot of things that other schools have that just because of our lack of funding, we're not able to get. So I want us to be comparable to every other school in Jefferson County. So with that, since Dr. Polio has given me a blank check, let me talk to you about some of the things that we would like to do here at Shawnee. There's a need to increase our mental health counselors, and not just for students, but for staff. There's a lot of trauma going on, and we want to make sure that our families, our students, and our staff are equipped. We want to get, and Dr. Polio, this came directly from the kids, they got a little jealous when they saw all the third floor new furniture. So we want to be able to give furniture throughout the building in all of the classrooms. They want their restrooms decorated, painted, little upgrade there. We have a senior lounge. We want to be able to put some nice furniture in there for our seniors. Our athletic director is going to talk to you a little more about our athletics, but I know they need an updated locker room. When I go in the locker room, I'm a little embarrassed. When I go out to our athletic field, I'm really embarrassed. When we go to other places, they have really nice facilities. There's no reason that we can't have that here at Shawnee. We want to make sure that we can get school apparel. Now, that may not seem like a lot, but letting a child know that they have an identification here at their school, that they can wear a t-shirt that says the Academy at Shawnee, or they can have a lanyard. A lot of those things we can't purchase because we don't have the funding. Finally, we want to look at staff recognitions. As you know, teachers that work in Choice Zone schools have a very difficult job. And I'm not minimizing anybody else's job, but our jobs are a little bit difficult. I can only recognize them maybe once or twice a year with a large staff celebration. Other schools are able to celebrate their staffs all year long. I want to be able to recognize my staff for their hard work that they do, instead of just saying on the announcements, happy birthday, and you get a pat on the back. So those are a lot of the things that we want to do, just a little list. Again, I'd like to thank Dr. Polio. who is just a wonderful supporter of Shawnee, everything that we do. Our school board, I'd like to thank Ms. Scott for her generosity, and I'd like to thank the Jefferson County Education and Foundation for their work. At this time, I'm going to introduce Mr. Jolly, Mike Jolly, who is our athletic director, who's going to talk to us more about our needs.
Hello, I'm Mike Jolly, the athletic director. When we're talking about school choice and the new school choice plan, if I'm a football player in JCPS and my choices are Shawnee and Ballard, Shawnee just cannot compare to Ballard's facilities. I'm not talking about, we have great coaches here, we have great teachers here, but if you go out and look at Ballard's, and a lot of kids will have this choice, but you go out and look at Ballard's football field and then come out and look at ours, which I hope you all do. It's night and day. Some schools in Jefferson County, have college-looking football fields. We just don't. We have a basketball floor that, as far as I can find out, has never been replaced. This school's been here 100 years. The basketball floor has never been replaced. You can walk on it, you can feel it give, there's humps in it. We are not asking for special treatment here, even though we feel like our kids deserve it. What we are asking for is equitable treatment for the kids in the West End, and it looks like that, this is a great day. It looks like now our kids are going to get the same opportunities that athletes at other schools get, and I'm just really happy about that, and I just hope, that the kids in the neighborhood, when they're making their choices, will be able to come here and look at our stuff and say, wow, that's a great spot. And also, not just the kids, but the neighbors. This, I think, will enhance the neighborhood pride. I live in this neighborhood. I'll have my whole life. The neighborhood pride in Shawnee and being able to just, look at the facilities or look at, the kids in the new uniforms and all that stuff is really going to enhance the neighborhood pride. We can put something together that the whole neighborhood will get behind, and everybody hopefully will want to send their kids here. That'd be great. And that's what I have. I'm just really excited. I just can't wait to get started.
Thank you, Mr. Jolly. You get a blank check too. Go for it. I'm going to bring up one of our staff members, Miss Yvonne Davila Beagle. She is our arts teacher. She's only been here in Jefferson County for 2 years, and so we're so excited about her. But she's going to talk a little bit about what she's going to do with our arts program. Come on, Miss Beagle.
Hi, my name is Yvonne Davila Beagle, and I can tell you that when I got a call last night, and I'm kind of short, so I'm 4'10", I'm going to stand over here. But when I heard that we had a chance at additional funding, I was so excited. Like, I was shaking last night. I was on my computer, my fingers were going crazy because there's so many things that I would love to do with our students. So one of the things that I do is I teach Spanish, but it's an arts-infused Spanish course. So my students get to make actual authentic things from our traditional culture. So like right now they're celebrating the Day of the Dead. And so the first thing that came to mind is I would love to have a set of virtual reality headsets so that my students could actually participate in Google Expeditions. And Google offers expeditions that teachers can create to take kids all over the world. So they can travel to Spain and they can travel to Mexico, and all you have to do is put on a virtual reality headset. But they're incredibly expensive. One headset might cost $1,000, but you can get a class set and you can create virtual expeditions, and kids don't have to leave this building to go on amazing vacations that their families may never be able to provide for them. And so one of the things that I want to do is bring those kinds of enriching experiences right into the doors of Shawnee so that the kids and the families can experience that kind of learning that is deep, learning that's engaging, a one-click studio so they can record themselves and create things, so they can record their stories. So what I want to do is I want to bring the full richness of education right here to my students that are sitting in my classroom. And that's what I'm going to plan on doing with any money that I get. So I'm super excited. I can't tell you how excited I am. I love Shawnee, by the way, and Miss Rice.
Thank you, Mrs. Beagle. So you see, we do have a plan for how we're going to spend this money, and we're very excited about that. At this time, I'm going to give him this title, The Man, the Myth, and the Legend, Dr. Marty Pollio.
So I'll just conclude, and then we'll take questions. Once again, a fundamental belief of mine that we've tried to implement throughout my time as superintendent, and I think we need to start doing this nationally, and I never have anyone who disagrees with me on this, that when a child has less amount of resources in their home, they need to have the most amount of resources in their school. And we've done that with our budget, but unfortunately, nationally, we have not done that in other ways. And whether that's athletic budgets, we will have a game in JCPS this weekend that will probably bring in $50,000 worth of ticket sales. And your home game will bring in $1,000, which means they'll probably break even just paying the bills. And so all of that money goes back into a program in the athletic facilities and the equipment and all of those things. Well, this is bridging that gap. Our teachers, we have to have in these schools, a school like Shawnee needs to have a room that has every school supply possible. And so no one goes without. If a teacher needs something, they walk in and get it. That's what the vision here is. If a teacher is planning for a project for their students, the students don't have to go to Walgreens or CVS with family to buy. They can go right into this room and get all the supplies they need to make sure that they can do the same projects that any other student can do. That's a difference maker here. This is going to be a model that I think nationally that people will come to see when they see a school like the Academy at Shawnee and JCPS meeting the needs of our kids like never before. So very thankful for Ms. Scott. I'll finish with that. And I can tell her we're going to use this money to impact the students in our community that need it the most. And research is very clear that supplementary funding along with parent engagement increases student outcomes. Thank you. Happy to take any questions. It's a good question. You know, I'll just tell you the story. I mean, with Ms. Scott's funding, as far as I know, you know, there is no process to go ask Ms. Scott for money. She gives in rounds. Her organization does. So I think recently we saw the Girl Scouts got a large amount of money, and evidently they'll be releasing a list of other recipients across the nation in the coming weeks. But I was contacted by a consulting firm that represents philanthropists, and at that time it was an anonymous philanthropist. They interviewed me for about an hour. They said they had heard about the work we're doing in JCPS with our future state to change JCPS, the student assignment plan, you know, the facilities, all the work we're doing, changing the type of instruction that's happening, the academies of Louisville, all of these things, and so they interviewed me for about an hour. Early summer, about 3 months later, I got a call from a representative of Ms. Scott who notified us of the award. So I can't say specifically why we were chosen, other than I was told it's the work we're doing in JCPS and Ms. Scott wanted to support it.
Speak about the impact for this area specifically, how this information will help.
Yeah, well, I spent a lot of time with the community back in the spring when we were talking about student assignment. You know, and I heard a lot of clear messages from the community, a very clear message about the fear of going back to segregated schools, not as much about, you know, the students in the school, but more about the supports given to the students. That prior to desegregation in 1976, that the facilities were, you know, not up to par as other schools. There were secondhand books that were given. Teachers weren't paid as much. I could go down the list of things. And so the real fear from this community was that if we give students the choice to stay close to home, they'll stay close to home, but they won't have the same resources that schools outside of the choice zone. And unfortunately, we are meeting that, bridging that gap with our budget, but it's this supplementary funding that has just never happened. And so my promise to the community was and to our board members, I have to say, talking to Diane Porter, our board chair, who was very fearful of, she was a student in segregated schools here who did not get the same things that white students got outside of West Louisville, and was very fearful. So I stood in front of her and said, this is what my promise is. We are going to make sure that the students in the Academy at Shawnee get everything else that a student at any other school in JCPS get, or more. That's the important part, or more if needed, because students that have the least amount of resources in their home need to have the most amount of resources in their schools. So I made that promise. I was out, in front of our foundation saying, I made the promise, we got to come through with this. So to have this given to us for the next, we know, and it could be longer, for, 10 years, makes me feel like I'm fulfilling my promise to the community, which is important to me. Yeah, well, and I want to make sure we talk about the difference. So renovations to facilities will still be a part of the JCPS budget. We are the renovation of athletic facilities across this district is coming. So that's just not a choice zone or a West Louisville thing. We're going to put $50 million to our athletic facilities in the very near future. So that will not be necessarily a part of this. But what we want to do is take our school that has the highest amount of PTA support, booster club support, alumni, activities accounts, all of these things, and tell Shawnee, you get the same amount or more per student as our highest funded school. I want to tell Wheatley Elementary, who will be going into a new facility, that if you go out to our lowest poverty school and they have 500 members of the PTA that pay $20 a member into the PTA membership, or they have a booster club that raises $50,000 a year to invest in students' experiences. I want to say Wheatley Elementary gets that same amount or more per student. So it's giving access to the principal to have flexibility to do the things that other schools do that high poverty schools cannot. Yeah, so first and foremost, we'll be working through our foundation. We have not, completely put together all the X's and O's, so to speak, of how it will work. But essentially, what we want to do, once again, is make sure that the Academy at Shawnee, once again, what is our highest funded school with supplementary funding? What's the high school that has the highest supplementary funding? We want to provide that through this grant to the Academy at Shawnee. Our elementary schools that have the highest supplementary funding, we want to make sure that our 11 choice zone elementary schools have access to that too. I was at Bick Elementary School yesterday. Bick Elementary School is a fantastic school, just like the Academy at Shawnee. When I stand up and tell people that the educators in a school like Bick or the Academy at Shawnee are doing incredible work to meet the needs of our kids, and then someone tells me, how can that be? Because they're considered a CSI school by the state, or some people want to call it failing school. I say, go into that school and talk to the educators and spend a few minutes and see what they do to meet the needs of our kids. But most people don't want to do that. I'm sorry, I'm on a soapbox here. But I was in Bick Elementary School yesterday. Their principal, Dr. Carla Collodi, spends $7,000 a year out of her pocket to provide incentives, recognitions, celebrations to her staff members on a regular basis. $7,000 of her own money, because they don't necessarily have a strong PTA that is going to say, when Dr. Collodi says, I would like to have on a Friday coffee and pastries for my teachers, she goes and buys it herself. She buys it herself because they don't have the supplementary funding to do that. When you are in a school with high poverty, the challenges you face are immense. And if we want teachers to say, first of all, we're paying them more next year, so a teacher at BIC or Shawnee will make $8,000 more than a peer that is the same experience in another school. That's first and foremost. But they should also have every single supplies, technology they need to be successful, and they should be recognized on a regular basis. The reason BIC has incredible retention rate for a high poverty school, one of them, is because the principal does that. But she shouldn't have to pay $7,000 out of her own pocket to do that. And so that is the change that's happening. Now our high poverty schools can consistently recognize their staff, and we just want to make sure it's just like a school with the highest PTA membership in our elementary schools. So we'll be looking to match those schools with a comparable school to make sure they have more supplementary funding than their peer schools.
Do you get contacted back by Ms. Scott, or is it just here's the money and then how does it work from here on out?
It's a good question. There have been very little requirements from Ms. Scott about what we have to do. There are some stipulations with the funding. It is first and foremost refreshing that Ms. Scott says that, recognizes you and your team have been in education your entire careers. You're the experts. Here are the funds. You make sure to spend them on students and improve outcomes for students. You all are doing the work. You're doing the great work. Keep doing it, and here is help. There's a couple stipulations, like it can't support political candidates, political movements, those type of things. But it's our commitment. I was talking to our foundation yesterday, Jefferson County Public Education Foundation, and our commitment is to continue to update her on what we are doing with the money through documentation, but also through, we want to make videos of this. We want, when Shawnee High School, the Academy at Shawnee comes out with brand new football uniforms next year and brand new helmets and a better field, we want to show that. When the art classroom, is doing, they're doing incredible, engaging activities that motivate kids. We want to put that on a video. We're going to continue to send that to her just so she knows the impact she's having on the students of JCPS.
Could you talk about what you talked to the consulting firm about a few months before you got this donation?
Sure. And once again, I don't know how JCPS got flagged specifically, but I was told it was because, so I don't know when I spoke or when there was an event that someone specifically, spoke to Ms. Scott about it or her organization. But they really wanted to talk to us. We've heard about a couple of things. First of all, your future state. And when I say future state, that was in 2019. We said the foundation of JCPS hasn't changed in 40 years. And so if we're going to make true progress, we're going to have to change some foundational things that are happening in JCPS, like student assignment, like facilities, like additional time for kids in summertime in our backpack league, like technology, access to technology for our kids, like resourcing high poverty schools, and finally the way we teach and learn. Like, these are the 6 areas we had to completely change if we're going to do this. And we've come a long way, even through the pandemic. So a lot of my discussion was on that. A lot of the discussion was on our community involvement, specifically with Evolve 502, that we're giving a scholarship to every student. We have community hubs and wraparound services. I think we've had some discussions before about, I don't think people in this community understand the community collaboration between Evolve 502 and JCPS doesn't happen like this in many places. And so a scholarship for every single student that goes through JCPS and the services that we work on together, it's really impressive. So I talked about that a lot. I talked a lot about our racial equity policy and plan. And so those were the things I think that earmarked us for the gift from Ms. Scott. Last call. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it.